This is the Urban Astronomer Podcast. Hi there, welcome to episode 34 of the Urban Astronomer Podcast. My name is Alan Farsfelt, and today I am taking us back to our basic formats with an interview, a bit of stellar physics to take us on the next leg of our journey through the life cycle of a star from gas cloud to black hole, and a mission update by Clem Unger, my co-host from the Equinox show. The interview today is with a local astronomer, Dr Itumeleng Monageng, a recent PhD graduate working as a research astronomer for the South African Astronomical Observatory. I first learned about him when he appeared in a short promo video put out by SAAO, so I gave him a call, invited him onto the show, he graciously accepted, and here we are. But before I play that recording for you, I'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. There aren't a lot of you guys, but I appreciate you all the more because of it. What you're giving me might not seem like much, but every cent is appreciated, and it's already helping to cover some of the costs of hosting the website. Thanks, and don't forget that the higher tier supporters get access to the recordings library. Every recording that's ever been used before editing and trimming, and even a few recordings that haven't been heard yet or were reserved for special projects. Just head to the Patreon appreciation page on the Urban Astronomer website at www.urban-astronomer.com to find the link. And since I'm in gratitude mode, I would like to say hi and thanks to the sadly reduced crowd at the Awesome Astronomy Podcast. They're a quality show run by good people who know their stuff and who put out a properly professional show. Yes, I know they go off script sometimes and collapse into giggles and petty insults, but that's all part of the fun, and I wouldn't want them to change that for the world. Anyway, they said some really kind words about Clem, the show, and myself, and I was touched deep in my heart. You guys, when the invasion comes, I promise to put up only a token resistance. Ooh la, my little green friends. Ooh la. We better cut to the interview now before I get all emotional. Here's the man of the hour, Dr Itumeleng Monageng.
My name is Itumeleng Monageng. I'm originally from Joburg. I grew up there, but then I've been living in Cape Town for the past 10 years or so. I came for my undergrad, and I've stayed since.
Mm-hmm. Where did you do undergrad?
At UCT. And yeah, I'm an astronomer.
Great stuff. So then, what led you to astronomy?
I think it's basically a curiosity. So the earliest memory I have of this is when I was about 12 or 13 years old. Uh-huh. There was a solar eclipse this one day, and so my father used to buy the daily newspaper, and on that particular day they had a coverage of the solar eclipse. So they're explaining everything about it, and the ins and outs and what's actually happening, but at a very layman level that a 12-year-old could understand.
Right.
And then I remember the newspaper came with these safety goggles to view the solar eclipse without damaging your eyes. Yeah, and I was using that to view, and I was excited, showing people around, showing people at school. And showing my parents, and my brother actually saw this interest and bought me this kiddies astronomy book, and I haven't looked back since, I guess.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so when you went to varsity, did you go straight for a physics degree or an astronomy degree, or how did you work?
I went for a double major, because that's usually the case with the science streams. So I did a physics and astronomy double major.
Okay. And that was at Wits, you said?
UCT.
Oh, UCT. I'm not thinking. Of course, you said you were Joburg. Yeah, I'm confusing myself.
Yeah, so actually at the time when I was doing my undergrad, UCT was the only university in South Africa that offered astronomy at undergraduate level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with other universities, you would have to major in physics and something else like maths or applied maths.
Yeah. What year was that?
This was 2007.
Okay. Yeah.
When I started my undergrad, yeah.
Mm. All right. So you got your degree. Did you take it on? If I recall, I'm not quite clear. You got your master's, or are you working on a PhD, or do you have it yet?
I just finished my PhD.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. What was the topic?
The topic of my PhD was multi-wavelength studies of gamma ray binaries.
Okay. All right. I think I saw a paper you did it with Dr. McBride, right?
Yes, yeah. She was my supervisor.
Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, for both masters and PhD.
Okay. And from there, how did you get into? I'm assuming you work for SAAO.
Yeah, at the moment I'm working for SAAO.
Okay. Was it an easy path from graduating to working there, or?
Actually, I've been here for my graduate degree because Dr. McBride had a joint position with UCT and SAAO. So even though I was registered at UCT, I had office space here at SAAO. So I had the choice of, I had two options of spending time at SAAO or UCT or both, I could split up my time however I wanted to, but I liked SAAO more, the environment. So I've been spending most of my time here.
Okay. How long have you been there?
So I started my master's in 2012 and finished in 2014. So from 2012, basically,
Okay.
I've been both here and UCT.
Okay, so it's a nice career then. So I take it you're a research astronomer then. You're not an instrumentation guy or?
No. Yeah, I do research.
Okay. What are your research interests?
As I mentioned, I'm doing my PhD thesis was on gamma ray binaries, and my master's thesis was on the so-called BE X-ray binaries. So I work on high mass X-ray binaries in general. But then, I'm also interested in other binary star systems like low mass X-ray binaries and planetary nebulae, so central stars of planetary nebulae. And so basically any interacting stellar systems I'm interested in.
It never occurred to me that you could have binaries at the center of a planetary nebula.
Yeah, it's actually a hot topic. There's a guy working here, Dr. Michalski. He's done a lot of work on that, and he's continuing to discover these binary stars in the center of PM.
So would this typically be something where the one star has ejected its outer layer to make the planetary nebula, and the other one is just a companion, or do they tend to interact? Or
Yes, and they're still interacting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Never would have thought of that.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few papers on them recently, mostly led by Dr. Michalski, who's also working here. He's a salt astronomer.
Okay, all right. Well,
so I've done research mostly on optical studies of high mass X-ray binaries. So with BE X-ray binaries, they consist of a BE star with a neutron star orbiting around it, and the BE star actually has a disk around it.
Okay.
Which, varies in size. So one of the main aims of our studies is to understand how this disk varies and interacts with the neutron star, giving off emission at other wavelengths like X-ray emission.
All right. This disk, is that an accretion disk or?
Yeah, it's a decretion disk.
Okay.
So there's an accretion disk.
Yeah.
This one is decretion disk.
I've never heard that term either. What's the difference?
So the difference is that with an accretion disk, you normally find those around compact objects like around neutron stars or black holes. And the matter flows from the outside of the disk to the inside because it's being accreted by the compact object.
Right.
With the decretion disk, it's basically the same physics, but just that the matter is flowing outside because it's formed by the BE star.
Okay, all right. So I think I then need to ask, what is a BE star?
So a BE star is, as you might know, stars are classified by this system where they use the letters O, B, A, F, G, K, M. So O, B, A, fine girl or guy, kiss me, how we remember it.
Okay.
So for example, the sun is a G-type star.
Right.
So a BE star is a B-type star. So it's a very high mass star.
Okay,
so
it's very hot and...
Yeah, so they can go up to masses of 30 times or so solar masses, so 30 times the mass of the sun.
Okay.
And it's spinning very rapidly, which might have to do with the formation of the disk.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a very heavy. So it's a B spectral type, and then the E becomes because of we see emission lines in the optical spectrum.
Okay, all right, I understand.
Yeah, and the emission lines come about because of the disk.
Okay, so the disk is hot and it's glowing, and
yes, and it's giving off Balmer lines and helium lines.
Okay, I understand this now. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, we are motoring through these questions a lot faster than I planned. Okay, if you, what would you advise? Because this is an interest of mine now. One of the reasons I do the podcast is to try and set up astronomy as an option for, learners and students and young adults and what have you.
Sure.
Whether it's professional or amateur, or as just a hobby. What would you advise somebody, say school age, maybe from your background or where you grew up or what have you, if they wanted to be like you, what would you tell them? How should they start?
First of all, you have to have an interest in it. So in, physics or astronomy. Mm-hmm. And then, there's lots of information. I guess now it's easier than it was when I was in school because, everybody has smartphones now. The kids have smartphones. So you have access to information, lots of it in your pocket. Mm-hmm. So look up usually universities and observatories like SAAO and HADRAO. They have outreach programs. So look out for these and get information from them. Because you can take part in them. For example, SAAO has a very active outreach department which hosts open nights every second Saturday, and they go out to schools. They get learners to come here and chat to astronomers, chat to engineers. So there's a lot of those around. So use your smartphone or the internet to get information. Mm-hmm. And astronomers are very friendly people. They always welcome kids. They're always willing to chat about their science and everything. And also, as SAO, there's telescopes in Sutherland, and they welcome visitors. So there's regular tours held there. The kids can always visit.
Okay. You've been to Sutherland? Well, I'm assuming you've been, but do you spend a lot of time there, or do you tend to just put in a request?
So for my graduate degree, I've spent quite a few weeks observing using various telescopes there.
Yeah.
So observing my data and also helping out my collaborators, who couldn't make it for whatever reason to observe. I would spend a few weeks there. So I've been working since February as a SALT support astronomer. So I've been using SALT. Yeah. Okay. That's about 1 week, once a month or so. The frequency. It's been fun.
Great. Cool. As a question is more relevant to me, I've recently been appointed the director of citizen science for ASA, Astronomical Society. So citizen science has become a really big deal for me recently. The kind of work that you do, or in related fields, if amateurs wanted to help, I would probably by default recommend a citizen science project. And I'm defining this quite broadly. So it's anything from AAVSO or what have you. Yeah. Which of those projects are useful to you?
To me personally, so for example, the current research, so the paper that I'm working on right now, I've actually used AAVSO data magnitudes to calibrate the magnitudes of a star that we currently study. Right. So that's been very useful to me directly because you have a lot of data from amateur astronomers that might have not been available or might have not been known if it wasn't for them.
Right.
So that's pretty helpful for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one cool aspect that's been directly related to what I'm doing.
Okay. That's the nice thing about AAVSO is that it seems to be